We've been unpacking John's insult to the Pharisees and the Sadducees over the last few sessions, understanding why we get this apparent insult at the start of John's message, where he calls these religious leaders a brood of snakes in pretty much the same way Jesus does later. And we were looking in our last session, beginning to understand something about the Sadducees and why they were such a sad group of people. Because they believed in religion for their own social, political and materialistic end. They were going through the motions of faith for what they could get out of it in the here and now. And John and Jesus, when they came, they challenged this belief to its very core. They challenged what the Sadducees were doing, which is why they became so hated, which is why it was actually the Sadducees who were, Annas and Caiaphas, the high priests, were Sadducees. And what we'll see is this is why they were so opposed and wanted Jesus done away with. John's teaching and Jesus' teaching exposed their hypocrisy in that they were just living for materialistic, hedonistic achievement in this life, rather than with a view on their eternal destiny. And the teaching that Jesus and John brought threatened their entire power base. It threatened their political and social position and standing. Let me give you an example of the sort of thing that the Sadducees were doing. So typically the Sadducees would control what happened in the temple. And earlier in our Forerunner Chronicles, we saw that Annas and Caiaphas, the high priests, were very much a corrupt system of political religious leadership. And we talked about the 4 booths of Annas, where Annas was rich from these market stalls, and that these market stalls were actually in the court of the Gentiles, where, the Mount of Olives and the court of the Gentiles, where people were coming in order to access the presence of God and to find God. And in there, Annas was running a business. So typically what might happen is that somebody would roll up with their sacrificial lamb, only to be told, oh no, sorry, your lamb's not pure, your lamb's not good enough. You have to have one of these special, here's one that we prepared earlier. Oh, and that's going to cost you some money. Oh, what, you mean you don't have a temple currency? I'm sorry, your shekel doesn't carry any weight here, but we have our money changers over here, so you can change your shekel into the temple currency and pay the commission in order to change your money into your holiday money in order to be able to spend your holiday money in the temple. And so people would give up their lamb to the people in the temple. They would exchange their money at an extortionate rate of interest, buy the sacrificial lamb and go off and do their sacrifice. What do you know? The next person comes along with their lamb and they're told, oh no, you can't buy one, but here's one we bought earlier. And the lamb that they'd taken off the previous person as being completely inappropriate was now being sold to the next person who came along as a perfect sacrificial lamb. So what you had was a complete corruption going on. It was corrupt morally, socially, religiously. And in a sense, what you had was actually Annas and Caiaphas were running an ancient time crime family. They were in effect operating like the mafia. And so no wonder Jesus cleansed the temple. No wonder Jesus came in and overturned the tables and drove them out and said, you've made this house of prayer into a den of robbers. Jesus directly confronted what was going on. And the Sadducees' whole identity was wrapped up in this here and now religious, getting as rich as you can in this life because there is no afterlife. So they had no view on eternity, no view on the future, and they were living totally for now. And history shows us that in AD 70, when the temple was destroyed, the Sadducees effectively disappear from history, because whereas the Pharisees believed you practice your worship outside of the temple, the Sadducees didn't. Their whole way and identity was tied up in the temple.